The stars looked different from the bridge of the USS Determination. Captain Diane Powell had seen them thousands of times during training simulations, but nothing prepared her for the real thing. Humanity's first faster-than-light ship hung in space near Alpha Centauri, the closest star system to Earth. Powell's mission was simple: explore, observe, and return home. "Captain, I'm picking up strange energy readings," said Communications Officer Lisa Wright. Her fingers moved quickly across the glowing control panel. "It's like nothing in our database." Powell stood from her chair. On screen, the main viewer lit up with a sight no human had ever seen before. Two groups of ships fired at each other with weapons that bent the fabric of space itself. Beams of light and strange pulses flashed between them. "Are we recording this?" Powell asked. "Yes, Captain," said Wright. "All sensors are active." Lieutenant Jack Morgan, the ship's engineer, stared at his readings with wide eyes. "Those energy outputs are off the charts. One of those small ships is putting out more power than all of Earth combined." Powell watched as one group of ships, sleek with flowing lines that reminded her of sea creatures, took heavy damage from the other group. The attackers had sharp, angular vessels that moved in perfect formation like a swarm of insects. "The smaller group is losing," said Security Chief Ryan Grant. "They're being pushed this way." Powell made a quick decision. "Battle stations, shields up." The crew rushed to their positions as warning lights flashed. The Determination wasn't built for war, but it had basic defensive systems. "The damaged ships will pass within 50 kilometers of us," said Navigator Ben Cooper. "The attacking force hasn't noticed us yet." Powell gripped the arms of her chair. "Hold position. Let's see what happens." On the screen, 3 of the flowing ships broke apart under heavy fire. The remaining 2 vessels changed course, heading directly toward the Determination. "They've spotted us," said Wright. "They're broadcasting something. It might be a communication." "Let's hear it," Powell ordered. The bridge speakers filled with a strange series of clicks and whistles that slowly formed into broken English. "Assistance, trapped, pursue." Before Powell could respond, 5 of the attacking ships changed course toward them. "They think we're allies with the others," said Grant. "We need to leave now." Powell shook her head. "No, armed torpedoes. Target the lead pursuer." The crew looked at her in shock. First contact with alien life, and they were about to fire weapons. "We can't just watch them die," Powell explained. "And I won't run from bullies, even alien ones." Morgan spoke up from his station. "Captain, if I route power from the FTL drive to our shields, we might be able to protect one of the damaged ships." "Do it," Powell ordered. "Right, keep trying." "To establish communication with the friendly ships." Grant, fire 2 warning shots across the lead pursuer's bow. The Determination shuddered as 2 torpedoes launched into space, detonating just ahead of the incoming attackers. The explosion was much larger than expected, creating a dazzling light show that momentarily blinded their sensors. "That got their attention," said Grant with a grim smile. "They're slowing down, reassessing." The 2 damaged alien ships limped toward the Determination, and Morgan extended their shields as planned. The pursuing ships held position, seemingly confused by the appearance of an unknown vessel. Wright's console beeped. "Captain, I've established a basic translation protocol. One of the damaged ships is hailing us." The screen changed to show a being unlike anything they had seen before. It had blue skin that seemed to shimmer like the surface of water, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and no visible mouth. "Unknown vessel," the alien said, its words translated with odd pauses and inflections. "You intervene in matters not your concern. Who are you?" Powell stood straight. "I am Captain Diane Powell of the Earthship Determination. We witnessed your ships under attack and offered assistance. We mean no harm, but we will defend ourselves and those under our protection." The alien's eyes blinked in sequence. "Earth, not known to us. You are new spacefaring species?" "Yes," Powell replied. "This is our first journey beyond our solar system." A sound like water bubbling came from the alien, perhaps laughter. "First journey, and already in war zone. Humans have poor timing." Or perfect timing, Powell countered. Those ships were about to destroy you. The Dominion always destroys. That is their way. I am Admiral Zix Tal of the Coalition. Defense Force, you have interfered in galactic war centuries old, Morgan whispered from his station. Captain, those attacking ships are scanning us intensely. They seem particularly interested in our engine configuration. Powell nodded acknowledgement before addressing Zix Tal again. Admiral, those ships are approaching again. What are your suggestions? Our drive systems, damaged, cannot escape. Powell made another quick decision. Then we'll create an escape opportunity. Morgan, can you create a sensor ghost of our ship? Morgan blinked in surprise. Using our deflector dish? Maybe, but it won't fool them for long. It doesn't need to. Grant, prepare all remaining torpedoes. Right. Send our engine schematics to the Coalition ships. They might be able to adapt their systems. Powell turned back to the screen. Admiral, we're going to create a diversion. When we do, be ready to move. For the first time, Zix Tal showed what might be respect. Understood, Captain Powell. The next minutes were tense as Morgan worked to create a convincing sensor duplicate of the determination. When ready, the false image appeared 2 kilometers away, seemingly making a run toward the attacking ships. Fire torpedoes widespread, ordered Powell. The determination launched its weapons, creating a field of explosions between them and the attackers. In the confusion, the real ship moved closer to the damaged Coalition vessels. It's working, said Cooper. The enemy ships are focusing on our ghost and the torpedo explosions. Morgan activated the shield extension, covering both Coalition ships. I can give you about 3 minutes of shared shield protection before our systems overload. Powell nodded to Wright. Tell them they have 3 minutes to make repairs. The Coalition crews worked with incredible speed. By the time the enemy ships realized the deception, the Coalition vessels had restored minimal power to their drives. The ghost is failing, warned Morgan. All power to forward shields, ordered Powell. Admiral, go now. The Coalition ships moved away as the determination positioned itself between them and the attackers. The enemy vessels fired, their strange weapons hitting the human ship's shields with tremendous force. Shields at 20%, reported Morgan. One more hit like that and we're in trouble. Just then, 3 more Coalition ships appeared from behind a nearby moon, weapons blazing. The attacking swarm broke formation, retreating in perfect coordination. On screen, Admiral Zix Tal appeared again. Captain Powell, your assistance was unexpected. Your tactics, unusual. Powell allowed herself a small smile. We're just getting started, Admiral. Indeed, replied Zix Tal. Perhaps humans will be useful allies. The Coalition Council will want to meet you. As the Coalition ships surrounded the determination in a protective formation, Powell realized that humanity's first step into the galaxy had landed them in the middle of a war, and based on the expressions of the alien crews now visible on their screens, a mixture of surprise, relief, and curiosity, humans had already made quite an impression. Set course to follow the Coalition fleet, Powell ordered. Let's see what this Galactic Council has to say. Little did she know that her simple act of intervention would eventually change the rules of warfare across the galaxy forever. 6 months had passed since first contact. Earth had joined the Coalition, and humans were now officially part of the galactic war against the Dominion. The Coalition had welcomed human ships, hoping for fresh troops in their long struggle. What they got instead was a headache. Commander Gregory Ellis sat in the captain's chair of the USS Intrepid, one of 5 human ships now fitted with Coalition technology. A Coalition advisor, Krelvox, stood behind him, making clicking sounds of disapproval. Commander, the battle plan requires your ship to maintain formation with the 3rd attack wing, said Krelvox. His translator made his voice sound metallic and flat. This is the 4th time you have questioned orders. Ellis nodded without turning around. And it's the 4th time the orders make no sense. You want us to fly straight at the enemy guns. The formation maximizes shield overlap and weapon coverage, insisted Krelvox. It is standard coalition doctrine. It's also predictable, said Ellis. The Dominion will know exactly where we'll be. On the main screen, 30 coalition ships moved, in perfect geometric patterns toward the Orion Nebula. Intelligence had discovered a Dominion supply base hidden there. The colorful gases of the nebula made it hard for sensors to work properly. The other human captains have accepted their roles, said Krelvox. Ellis smiled slightly. No, they haven't. Check your private channel. The alien advisor tapped his communication device and his 4 eyes widened. The other human ships were secretly sharing plans outside official channels. This is against protocol, Krelvox said, his skin turning a darker shade of green. Lieutenant Kelly Baker, the Intrepid's tactical officer, turned in her chair. Sir, Coalition Command is requesting our position in formation. The attack begins in 5 minutes. Ellis finally turned to face the alien advisor. Krelvox, we're going to do this our way. You can stay and watch, or you can take a shuttle back to command. Your choice. The alien stared at him for a long moment. I will observe. The Council will want a full report on human creativity. Good choice, said Ellis. He pressed his ship-wide communication button. All hands battle stations prepare for Ellis Maneuver Delta. The crew moved with practiced efficiency. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Frank Martinez made final adjustments to systems that had been modified far beyond Coalition standards. All human vessels are acknowledging, said Communications Officer Olivia Green. They're ready to break formation on your mark. Ellis nodded. Tell them to wait for my signal. The Coalition fleet moved deeper into the nebula. Suddenly, sensors detected Dominion ships hiding among the gas clouds, not just a supply base, but a full ambush. There were twice as many enemy ships as expected. Coalition Command is ordering all ships to maintain formation and press the attack, reported Green, listening to the official channel. Ellis watched as the Coalition ships continued forward. Even as the first Dominion weapons hit their targets, the Coalition's rigid formation began taking heavy damage. Now, said Ellis, signal the human ships. Green sent the message, and all 5 human vessels broke formation simultaneously. The Intrepid cut power to its engines, letting momentum carry it while reducing its energy signature. The other human ships scattered in different directions. What are you doing? Demanded Krelvox. Return to formation, this is chaos. Ellis ignored him. Martinez, reroute shield power to the sensors. Baker, get me firing solutions on the Dominion ship's engine sections. Targeting engines is forbidden by Coalition rules of engagement, Krelvox said, his voice rising. It leaves ships stranded. That's the point, Ellis replied calmly. Green, activate our modified communication array. The Intrepid's communication system, secretly reconfigured by Martinez, began broadcasting on Dominion frequencies. It wasn't trying to communicate. It was jamming their coordination signals. Coalition ships are taking heavy losses, reported Baker. Dominion formation is holding. Ellis nodded. Let's change that. Martinez, vent plasma from the port nacelle. A cloud of glowing plasma erupted from the ship, creating a temporary screen. Hidden by this cover, the Intrepid changed course rapidly, coming up under the nearest Dominion vessel. Fire, ordered Ellis. The Intrepid's weapons struck the enemy ship's engines with precision. The Dominion vessel spun out of control, its weapons going dark. Around the nebula, the other human ships were executing similar strategies, each one different, creating confusion among the perfectly coordinated Dominion forces. Coalition Command is ordering us to return to formation, said Green. They sound angry. Tell them we're experiencing communication difficulties, Ellis replied with a small smile. Baker, next target. The Intrepid moved to another position, this time deliberately putting itself in the line of fire of 2 Dominion ships. Just as they fired, Ellis ordered full power to the engines. The Intrepid shot forward, causing the Dominion vessels to hit each other. These tactics, Krelvox said, gripping a handrail tightly. They are unorthodox. They're working, replied Baker. Her console showed the Dominion formation breaking apart as they tried to deal with the unpredictable human ships. One of the other human vessels, the USS Dauntless, had allowed itself to appear damaged, drawing in Dominion ships. That thought it was an easy target. When they got close, the Dauntless suddenly powered up all systems and launched a barrage of modified torpedoes that attached to enemy hulls before detonating. "Coalition ships are regrouping," reported Green. "They're following our lead." Ellis nodded in satisfaction. "Good. Tell the human ships to form up on us. We're going after the Dominion command ship." The 5 human vessels converged from different directions, confusing Dominion targeting systems. The enemy command ship, a massive vessel at the center of their formation, began to retreat. "They're running," said Baker with surprise. "The command ship is abandoning their forces." Ellis leaned forward. "Not on my watch. Martinez, full power to weapons." The Intrepid and the other human ships fired simultaneously at the command ship's engine section. The giant vessel shuddered to a halt in space, dead in the water but intact. "Coalition forces are mopping up the remaining Dominion ships," reported Green. "We've won." Krelvox stared at the tactical display in silence for a long moment. "Commander Ellis, the Coalition has fought the Dominion for centuries. Never have we seen them retreat in such disarray." Ellis shrugged. "Sometimes you need to break the rules to win." "The rules exist for a reason," said Krelvox quietly. "This is not how war is conducted in civilized space." "Maybe that's why you've been fighting the same war for centuries," replied Ellis. "After the battle, the Coalition claimed victory, but the human ships were ordered to return to base for consultation. As they approached the massive Coalition space station, Ellis received a private message from Admiral Powell, now Earth's representative to the Coalition. "Good work out there, Commander," Powell said. "But I should warn you, you've stirred up a hornet's nest. The Coalition Council is in an uproar about human battle tactics. They're calling for a full review of our participation in the war effort." Ellis looked around his bridge at the crew that had just saved countless Coalition lives by breaking the rules. "Let them review. We'll keep fighting our way." He didn't know it then, but the Battle of Orion Nebula would become the first step toward the eventual banning of human ships from galactic warfare. Not because they were ineffective, but because they were too effective in ways the galaxy wasn't prepared to accept. The Coalition Central Command Station hung in space like a giant metal flower. Its 6 curved arms extended from a central hub, each one housing different alien species. In a small meeting room near the center, Senior Commander Patricia Henderson stood before a panel of 7 Coalition officials. None of them looked happy. "Commander Henderson," began the chairperson, a tall being with pale skin and 4 arms. "We have reviewed the reports from the Orion Nebula battle. We have serious concerns." Henderson stood straight in her blue Earth uniform. Unlike the flowing robes of the Coalition officers, her outfit was designed for function rather than ceremony. "The battle was a victory," she said simply. "We destroyed 23 Dominion ships and captured their command vessel with minimal Coalition losses." A reptilian official named Srel hissed softly. "The methods used by human ships violated 17 sections of the Galactic Rules of War. This is unacceptable." Henderson blinked in surprise. "Rules of war? We were never given any rule book." The officials exchanged glances. The chairperson, whose name was Varn, picked up a small device and projected a hologram in the air between them. A long document written in alien script appeared, with an Earth translation beside it. "This is the Galactic Rules of War, established 5,000 years ago and honored by all spacefaring civilizations," Varn explained. "Even the Dominion follows these rules." Henderson scanned the document quickly. Her eyes widened as she read. "You can't target propulsion systems?" she asked, looking up. "Or use electronic warfare? Or modify weapons during battle?" She shook her head. "These aren't rules of war. They're rules for losing." Srel's scales darkened in anger. "These rules ensure that war remains civilized. Targeting engines leaves enemy crews stranded in space. It is cruel. Crueler than destroying the sea." "Whole ship," Henderson countered. Another official, a being made of what looked like crystal, spoke in a chiming voice. "Human ships also deliberately vented plasma to create sensor blinds. This violates Section 43, which forbids the use of environmental manipulation as a tactical advantage. Henderson struggled to keep her face neutral. So we're supposed to fight exactly how the enemy expects, with no surprises or innovations? War is not about surprises, said Varn firmly. It is about testing military strength in an honorable manner. Now Henderson couldn't hide her disbelief. That's not war. That's a sporting event. The room fell silent. The officials looked at each other uncomfortably. Perhaps humans do not understand because they are young to space travel, suggested a small, furry official at the end of the table. They should be educated, not punished. We understand perfectly, Henderson replied. But where I come from, war isn't about honor or rules, it's about survival. The Dominion wants to assimilate all intelligent life, including humans. We fight to win. Varn leaned forward. And what cost are you willing to pay for victory, Commander? How many ships are you willing to sacrifice? Henderson thought for a moment about Earth's long history of warfare, whatever it takes. Several officials recoiled as if physically struck. Srel stood up abruptly and left the room without a word. This concept of acceptable losses disturbs us greatly, said the crystal being. Coalition tactical doctrine values each ship and crew as irreplaceable. So does Earth, Henderson said firmly. But sometimes, sacrifice is necessary for the greater good. Varn's 4 hands made a complex gesture. In 10,000 battles, the Coalition has never once used a kamikaze tactic or deliberate ramming. Such actions are considered barbaric. Yet you're losing this war, Henderson pointed out. How long has this conflict with the Dominion been going on? The officials exchanged uncomfortable glances again. The current phase of the conflict began 372 standard years ago, admitted Varn reluctantly. Henderson let that sink in. Almost 4 centuries of war with no end in sight. Maybe it's time for new tactics. We called you here to discuss limits on human involvement, not to question coalition military doctrine, said the furry official, clearly annoyed. Why did you invite Earth to join this war if you didn't want us to fight our way? Henderson asked. Varn looked down. We expected humans to integrate into existing formation structures and follow established protocols. We did not anticipate such creativity or such disregard for tradition, added the crystal being. In the uncomfortable silence that followed, an aide entered the room and whispered something to Varn. The chairperson's eyes widened slightly. It seems our discussion must continue another time, Varn said. The Dominion has launched a major offensive in the Rigel sector. 3 coalition colony worlds are under attack. Henderson straightened up. Earth forces stand ready to assist. No, said Varn quickly. Too quickly. The coalition fleet will handle this according to established doctrine. And if they fail? Henderson asked. Varn didn't answer directly. You are dismissed, Commander. Please remain on the station until further notice. Henderson left the meeting room and walked through the curving corridors of the station. She found Admiral Powell waiting near one of the large observation windows. Outside, stars stretched into infinity. That bad? Powell asked, seeing Henderson's expression. Worse, Henderson replied. They don't want to win this war, Admiral. They just want to fight it according to their precious rules. Powell sighed. I've been getting the same impression. The coalition has been at war so long they've forgotten what peace looks like. The rules make the conflict predictable, manageable. Meanwhile, people die. Henderson said bitterly. Powell looked out at the stars. I've been studying coalition historical records. This isn't the first prolonged conflict they've had. There's a pattern. Centuries of war following strict rules. Then peace, agreements, then war again generations later. It's almost ritualized, Henderson finished the thought. Like they need the conflict. Their conversation was interrupted by an emergency alarm. The station's lighting changed to a deep blue pulse. A voice spoke over the communication system in multiple languages. Attention all personnel. Rigel defense forces have suffered critical losses. Dominion ships have broken through to the inner colonies. All available vessels are ordered to defensive positions. Powell and Henderson exchanged looks. Still want To follow doctrine? Henderson asked. Powell's face hardened. Get back to your ship. I'm going to make a call to the human fleet. Tell them to prepare for the Ellis maneuver. The Council won't like that, Henderson warned. They'll like losing. 3 worlds even less, Powell replied. Sometimes you have to break the rules to save lives. As Henderson hurried toward the docking bay, she passed several coalition officers rushing to their posts. Their faces showed something she hadn't seen before. Fear. The carefully managed war was spiraling out of control, and their rulebook had no chapter for what to do when losing. Human ships were about to change the game again, whether the galaxy was ready or not. Captain Alan Foster stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance, watching the holographic display of the Rigel system. 3 inhabited planets glowed green, surrounded by red markers representing Dominion warships. There were at least 50 enemy vessels against his small flotilla of 8 human ships. Status report, Foster said quietly. His tactical officer, Susan Kim, looked up from her station. Coalition forces are in full retreat, sir. 2 of their defense fleets have been destroyed. The 3rd is withdrawing to protect the evacuation ships. Foster nodded. Earth forces had been called in as a last resort, after the Dominion broke through the Coalition's carefully planned defenses. Now millions of civilian lives depended on what happened next. Are all captains on the secure channel? He asked communications. Officer Eric Boyd. Yes, sir. And no Coalition observers this time. They're too busy retreating. Foster took a deep breath. Good. Tell them to prepare Operation Hornet's Nest. We move in 5 minutes. The plan was unlike anything in the Coalition tactical manuals. Instead of meeting the superior Dominion force head-on, the human ships would use the Rigel system itself as a weapon. Sir, said Navigator Paul Wilson, we've identified the ideal asteroid field for Phase 1. Foster studied the display. A dense collection of space rocks drifted between the 3rd and 4th planets, perfect for what they needed. Take us in. Half speed. Maintain sensor jamming. The Defiance led the human flotilla into the asteroid field. The ships moved carefully between the massive rocks, using their minimal profile to hide from Dominion sensors. In engineering, Chief Maria Lopez worked frantically to modify their equipment. Captain, gravitational hooks are ready. We can move objects up to 50,000 tons. Excellent, said Foster. Begin Phase 1. The human ships attached their specially designed gravity hooks to the largest asteroids. With careful use of their engines, they started accelerating these massive rocks toward predetermined coordinates. Dominion fleet is continuing toward the 2nd planet, reported Kim. They haven't detected us yet. Foster smiled grimly. They're about to feel our presence. Boyd, signal the other ships to launch their asteroids on my mark. The bridge crew waited tensely as the final calculations were made. Unlike the Coalition's predictable attack patterns, this strategy relied on physics and surprise. 3, 2, 1, release, ordered Foster. 8 massive asteroids, some nearly a kilometer across, broke free from the gravity hooks. The human ships quickly detached and moved to safe distances. The giant space rocks, now traveling at significant speed, headed directly toward the main Dominion formation. Impact in 40 seconds, reported Kim. Foster watched the display, his hands gripping the arms of his command chair. Now for Phase 2, all ships, power down everything except life support. Play dead. The lights on the bridge dimmed as the Defiance shut down all non-essential systems. The other human vessels did the same, becoming dark spots drifting among the thousands of smaller asteroids. On the display, the first asteroid struck a Dominion ship near the edge of their formation. The energy released was enormous, completely destroying the vessel. Moments later, the other asteroids hit, creating chaos in the once perfect enemy formation. Dominion ships scattered, their coordinated movements breaking down. They're confused, whispered Kim, watching her passive sensors. Their formation is breaking up. Foster nodded. They're looking for who attacked them. When they send search parties into the asteroid field, we'll be waiting. Sure enough, 10 Dominion scout ships entered the field minutes later, searching. for the source of the asteroid attack. They passed within meters of the powered-down human vessels without detecting them. "Now," said Foster, "all ships, execute Phase 3. The Defiance and the other human ships suddenly powered up all systems at once. Before the Dominion scouts could react, they were destroyed by precise weapons fire. "Phase 4, ordered Foster. "Release the drones." Each human ship launched dozens of small unmanned craft pre-programmed with a special mission. The drones raced toward the main Dominion fleet, broadcasting false sensor readings that made each one appear to be a full-sized warship. "They're taking the bait," reported Kim. "Dominion forces are splitting up to engage the drones." Foster leaned forward. "Boyd, upload the virus package." Over the past months, human computer experts had secretly developed a program designed to infiltrate Dominion systems. As the enemy ships focused their sensors on the drones, the virus was transmitted directly into their network. "Virus deployed," confirmed Boyd. "It's spreading through their command network." On the display, several Dominion ships suddenly stopped, moving. Others began firing at empty space or even at each other. "Their coordination is breaking down," said Kim with a note of awe in her voice. "The hive-mind connection is corrupted." Foster stood up. "All ships, form up on the Defiance. Time for the final phase." The 8 human vessels assembled into an attack formation, but not the rigid geometric pattern preferred by the Coalition. Instead, they arranged themselves in a flexible, adaptable group that could change shape as needed. "Target their command ship," ordered Foster. The human flotilla accelerated toward the heart of the Dominion fleet. With their communications in disarray and many ships disabled by the computer virus, the enemy couldn't mount an effective defense. "Sir," said Boyd suddenly, "we're receiving a transmission from the Dominion command ship. It's in English." Foster blinked in surprise. On screen, the main display showed a being unlike any they had seen before. It had multiple eyes arranged around a central body mass with tentacle-like appendages moving constantly. "Human vessels," the being said, its voice translated into a metallic monotone. "You are not like the others." "We fight to win," replied Foster simply. "Your tactics, unknown to us. You move asteroids. You hide among dead rocks. You send false images. You infect our network. These are not honorable methods." Foster's expression hardened. "There's no honor in threatening civilian worlds." The Dominion being's tentacles moved faster. "We have fought the Coalition for centuries. We understand each other. We do not understand. You are void demons, physics defilers." "We're just humans," said Foster, "and we're asking you to withdraw from this system." The being was silent for a moment. "The Dominion will retreat, for now, but the High Mind will learn of your methods. We will adapt." The transmission ended. On the display, the Dominion ships that could still maneuver began pulling back, abandoning their attack on the Rigel colonies. "They're actually retreating," said Kim, sounding surprised. "Not because we outgunned them," said Foster thoughtfully, "but because we scared them. We didn't fight the way they expected." As the human ships moved to protect the Coalition evacuation vessels, Foster received a priority message from Admiral Powell. "Outstanding work, Captain," said Powell, her image appearing on a side screen. "The Coalition Council is, well, they're speechless. You just did what 3 of their fleets couldn't do." Foster noticed that Powell didn't seem entirely happy. "What's wrong, Admiral?" Powell sighed. "There's already talk about dangerous human methods and violation of war ethics. They're more concerned about how you won than the fact that you saved 3 worlds." "What does that mean for us?" "It means," said Powell grimly, "that our victory today might have consequences none of us expected. Report back to Coalition Central Command as soon as possible. And Captain, prepare to defend your actions to people who would rather lose properly than win creatively." As the Defiance changed course, Foster looked back at the display. The Dominion ships were retreating at maximum speed, some still firing randomly due to the computer virus. For the first time in centuries, they had faced an enemy they didn't understand, and it terrified them. Little did Foster know that this victory would lead directly to the most unexpected peace agreement in galactic history. Ambassador Peter Russo adjusted his formal uniform as he walked through the grand entrance of the Coalition Council chamber. The massive room was built like an amphitheater, with rows of seats rising in a circle around a central speaking platform. Representatives from over 30 species filled the chamber, their voices creating a buzz of different sounds and languages. Russo had been called to an emergency session, but wasn't told why. After the victory at Rigel 3 weeks ago, he expected medals for Captain Foster and his crew. Instead, there was a strange tension in the air. As he took his seat in the Earth section, he noticed something unprecedented. A delegation of Dominion representatives on the opposite side of the chamber. The tentacled beings stayed close together, their bodies pulsing with changing colors. In 300 years of war, the Dominion had never sent representatives to the Coalition Council. "What's going on?" Russo whispered to Admiral Powell, who was already seated. Powell's face was grim. "Nothing good. They've been in closed session for 2 days before calling us in." Before Russo could ask more questions, the chamber lights dimmed. A spotlight illuminated the central platform where Varn, the four-armed chairperson, raised his hands for silence. "This special joint session of the Coalition Council will now begin," Varn announced. "For the first time in 3 centuries, we welcome representatives of the Dominion collective mind." The chamber remained deathly quiet. No applause, no murmurs. "We have gathered to address a matter of grave concern to both Coalition and Dominion civilizations," continued Varn. "The issue before us is the nature and methods of human warfare as demonstrated in recent conflicts." Russo felt his stomach tighten. This wasn't a celebration. It was a trial. Varn gestured to a Dominion representative, who floated forward. Its tentacles moved in patterns that were translated into words by a device around its central body. "The Dominion has fought the Coalition for 300 cycles," the alien's translator said. "We understand each other. There are rules, boundaries. The humans respect none of these." The representative's skin flashed with rapid color changes. "They hide. They use deception. They corrupt our networks. They weaponize space itself. They are unpredictable and dangerous to all." Varn nodded solemnly. "The Coalition shares these concerns. Human tactics at the Orion Nebula and Rigel system violated no less than 26 sections of the Galactic Rules of War." Russo stood up, unable to contain himself. "Those same tactics saved 3 of your worlds, Ambassador Russo," said Varn coldly. "You will have your turn to speak. For now, please listen." For the next hour, representatives from both the Coalition and Dominion detailed their complaints about human warfare. They showed recordings of human ships using asteroids as weapons, deploying computer viruses, and hiding with powered-down systems. Each tactic was labeled as dishonorable, barbaric, or uncivilized. Finally, Russo was allowed to approach the speaking platform. "Distinguished representatives," he began, trying to keep his voice level. "Everything you've shown here demonstrates one thing: humans fight to win. When outnumbered, we use creativity and ingenuity. When faced with a stronger enemy, we find their weaknesses. This is not dishonorable, it's survival." A Coalition representative, the crystal being from the earlier meeting, chimed in. "But at what cost? Your ships were willing to sacrifice themselves at Rigel if necessary. You view your crews as expendable." "No," said Russo firmly. "We view them as heroes willing to take risks to save others. Every human volunteer knows the dangers." The Dominion representative's colors pulsed rapidly. "The human approach is dangerous. It forces innovation. It requires adaptation. It accelerates the development of new weapons and tactics." "Isn't that the point of warfare?" asked Russo. "To defeat your enemy?" The chamber fell silent again. Varn looked at the other council members, then back at Russo. "No, Ambassador. The point of warfare, as conducted for 10,000 years in this galaxy, is to establish dominance and negotiate from strength. It is not to annihilate or force unconditional surrender." Russo struggled to understand. Then why fight at all? Why not just negotiate? An ancient representative in the upper tier stood slowly. The chamber grew even quieter. This was a Xyrillian, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. They rarely spoke at council meetings. Young human, the Xyrillian said, its voice deep and resonant. You do not understand because your species is new to interstellar conflict. War, as you conceive it, ended among advanced civilizations millennia ago. The ancient alien moved closer to the center. What you call war, we call controlled conflict. It follows rules because it must. 10,000 years ago, my own people developed weapons that could destroy entire star systems. Other species did the same. We stood at the edge of annihilation. Before we realized that war must have limits, Russo began to understand. You're saying these rules exist to prevent total war? Yes, said the Xyrillian. The rules of war ensure that conflicts remain limited, that weapons development stays controlled, that neither side feels compelled to create planet killers, or worse. Varn stepped forward again. Human tactics are forcing both coalition and dominion to reconsider our approaches. Already, there are calls to develop countermeasures to your methods. This would lead to a new arms race with unknown consequences. The Dominion representative moved closer. The collective mind fears what humans might do next. You are not predictable, not safe. Powell stood up in the Earth section. So what are you suggesting, that we deliberately fight less effectively? Let worlds fall because we won't use every tool at our disposal? Varn looked uncomfortable, but the Xyrillian answered. No. We are suggesting something unprecedented. The chamber's main screen displayed a formal document. The title read, Joint Coalition Dominion Peace Accord. Russo's eyes widened. Peace? After 300 years? Yes, said Varn. The appearance of human warfare has done what centuries of conflict could not. It has brought both sides to the negotiation table, united in common concern. And the price of this peace? Asked Powell, her voice suspicious. Varn looked directly at the Earth representatives. A complete ban on human ships participating in any military action in coalition or dominion space. The chamber erupted in noise, as representatives called out questions and comments. Varn raised all four arms for silence. Humans will be welcomed for trade, cultural exchange, and scientific cooperation. Varn continued, but your military vessels must remain in your own territory. Russo was stunned. You're banning us because we're too good at fighting? We are banning you, said the Xyrillian gently, because you fight as we did 10,000 years ago, with no concept of limits. Your victory at Rigel proved that your 8 ships could defeat 50 Dominion vessels. What happens when you have 50 ships, or 500? How would the balance of power shift? After the formal session ended, Russo found himself in a small, side chamber with the Xyrillian elder. I don't understand, said Russo. We saved coalition worlds, we pushed back the Dominion, and our reward is exclusion? The ancient alien's eyes were kind but firm. You see only the battle, not the war. For millennia, conflict has been our safety valve, predictable, limited, with acceptable casualties. It prevented the development of weapons that could destroy everything. The Xyrillian touched Russo's shoulder with a gnarled hand. Your people reminded everyone how terrifying true warfare can be. You made both sides realize they preferred their civilized conflict to the alternative you represent, so we're being punished for being innovative, Russo said bitterly. No, replied the Xyrillian. You're being honored by becoming the reason for peace. Your ships are banned not because you failed, but because you succeeded too well. You showed us our own reflections from 10,000 years ago, and we did not like what we saw. As Russo prepared to return to the Earth ships with news of the ban, he watched Coalition and Dominion representatives talking quietly together. Former enemies were planning a future without human military involvement. The real reason human ships were banned from Galactic War was not their weapons or their tactics, but their reminder of what war truly was. Not a game with rules, but a desperate struggle for survival that could push civilizations to create ever more terrible means of destruction. In their failure to follow the rules, humans had shown the HFY galaxy a better path, one where rules were unnecessary because there was no more war at all.